Imagine you're eagerly awaiting a grand event, a momentous occasion promised long ago. Now suppose someone tells you that it has already happened and you missed it entirely. How would you feel? Confused? Skeptical? This is the dilemma some Christians face when confronted with the claim that Jesus Christ's second coming occurred with the destruction of Jerusalem in 70 AD. This idea suggests that the end of the world, the resurrection, and the final judgment are events of the past. But is this claim rooted in Scripture, or does it distort the very essence of Christian hope? Let's journey together to explore this intriguing question, seeking clarity and understanding. Throughout history, people have wrestled with understanding sacred texts. Even the Apostle Peter warned that some parts of Scripture are hard to understand and that ignorant and unstable people distort them. 2 Peter 3:16. It's a bit like trying to solve a complex puzzle without all the pieces. You might force them to fit, but the picture won't be accurate. Consider a young sailor navigating the seas with an old map. If he misreads the symbols, he might steer his ship into dangerous waters. Similarly, misinterpreting Scripture can lead us into confusion and error. Some theologians propose that the fall of Jerusalem in 70 AD wasn't just a historical event, but the fulfillment of all end-time prophecies. This perspective, sometimes called realized eschatology, suggests 1. All prophecies fulfilled. Every biblical prophecy was completed by 70 AD. 2. Second coming occurred. Jesus returned invisibly during Jerusalem's destruction. 3. Resurrection and judgment past. The resurrection of the dead and the final judgment have already happened. 4. End of the world realized. The world that ended was the Jewish age, not the physical earth. But let's examine whether this interpretation holds up when we consider the broader context of Scripture. The Bible describes Jesus' return as a visible, undeniable event. Acts chapter 1 verse 11 records angels telling the disciples, "This same Jesus will come back in the same way you have seen him go into heaven." Revelation chapter 1 verse 7 declares, "Look, he is coming with the clouds, and every eye will see him." If Jesus returned in AD 70, why wasn't it a globally witnessed event? The destruction of Jerusalem was significant, but it didn't match the grand, all-encompassing return described in Scripture. When the disciples asked Jesus about the end of the age, Matthew chapter 24 verse 3, they were seeking understanding about the culmination of history. While some interpret this as the end of the Jewish age, other passages point to a more universal conclusion. For instance, 2 Peter chapter 3 verse 10 says, "But the day of the Lord will come like a thief. The heavens will disappear with a roar, the elements will be destroyed by fire." This suggests a cosmic event, not limited to a single city or nation. Or, in 1 Corinthians 15, Paul passionately discusses the resurrection. He affirms that Christ's resurrection is the first fruits of those who have died. He looks forward to a future moment when the trumpet will sound, the dead will be raised imperishable, and we will be changed. If the resurrection happened in AD 70, why do we still face death? The last enemy to be destroyed is death, yet death remains a reality for us all. Paul speaks of a transformation from perishable to imperishable, from mortal to immortality. This indicates a future physical change, not just a spiritual metaphor. Imagine a caterpillar transforming into a butterfly. The change is profound and visible. Similarly, the resurrection promises a tangible transformation that we have yet to experience. In 2 Timothy 2 verses 17 to 18, Paul warns about individuals who claim that the resurrection has already taken place, saying they destroy the faith of some. This shows that even in the early church, some were spreading confusion by asserting that key events had already occurred. It's like hearing a rumor that a long-awaited concert happened yesterday, and you missed it. Naturally, you'd be upset and question the validity of the claim. Early church leaders writing after AD 70 continued to express hope in a future return of Christ and a bodily resurrection. Clement of Rome urged believers to remain faithful as they awaited Christ's coming. Ignatius spoke of Jesus returning as the judge of the living and the dead. Polycarp encouraged Christians to stand firm, anticipating the resurrection and judgment. If these events had already occurred, it's puzzling that these leaders, some of whom were direct disciples of the apostles, were unaware. Now let's look at the Lord's Supper and marriage. Paul instructs believers to partake in the Lord's Supper until he comes. This practice continues in churches worldwide, signifying that Christians still anticipate Jesus' return. Jesus taught that in the resurrection, people will neither marry nor be given in marriage. They will be like the angels in heaven. If the resurrection occurred in AD 70, does this mean marriage is obsolete? Clearly, marriage persists, indicating that the resurrection Jesus spoke of is yet to come. The anticipation of Jesus' return and the resurrection is a cornerstone of Christian faith. It's like a lighthouse guiding ships through dark and stormy seas, a beacon of hope and direction. Misinterpreting these promises can lead us astray, causing confusion and despair. But by carefully studying Scripture and seeking wisdom, we can anchor ourselves in truth. In conclusion, the destruction of Jerusalem was a significant event, fulfilling certain prophecies and serving as a sobering reminder of judgment. However, the weight of biblical evidence points to a future second coming, a physical resurrection, and an end that encompasses all of creation. As we navigate these profound topics, let's approach them with humility and discernment. Like travelers on a journey, we may not have all the answers, but we can trust in the one who guides us. Let us encourage one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching, holding firmly to the hope we profess. Understanding Scripture is a journey, not a destination. It's like climbing a mountain. Each step brings a new perspective, but the peak remains ahead. Let's commit to walking this path together, supporting one another and keeping our eyes fixed on the ultimate prize. May we echo the prayer of the psalmist, "Teach me your way, O Lord. Lead me in a straight path."